Greetings to one and all. February 27th and 308 days left in the year. Here's your scripture of the day from Luke 17, verse 21. That they may be one as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. If you want to read the Bible in a year, you are reading Numbers 15 and 16 and Mark chapter 6, verses 1 to 29. Here's some thoughts for the day. God is a strong tower, and they that seek shelter in him shall find peace, even in the storms of life. A burden of love is like carrying a basket of flowers. Its fragrance lifts the spirit of the bearer and all who it falls upon. Galatians 6:2 says, bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. If you are to be, you must begin by assuming responsibility. You alone are responsible for every moment of your life, for every one of your actions. So take responsibility, take shelter in the Lord, and bear somebody's burdens. Build up a brother or a sister today in the Lord. All right, here's the motivation for today. Examine your past difficulties and understand the lessons that have been shown to you. On today in history, in 1557, the first Russian embassy is established in London. And in 1879, the discovery of saccharin by chemists in Baltimore. 1933, the Reichstag building in Berlin is destroyed by fire. And in 1991, it's the end of the Gulf War after the last of the Iraqi troops have retreated from Kuwait. Here's your personal story for today. James 3:5 says, even so the tongue is a little member and boasteth great things. Behold, how a great matter a little fire kindleth. And if you're reading ahead, take a look at Proverbs 10, verses 1 to 32. That will be what I'm referencing today. So a man who will trim the facts for you will trim them as easily against you. And a career or a life may hang on a word, wrote Bible scholar Derek Kidner. This insight could have come straight from Proverbs, which is much what we have to say about the power of speech. Unlike Proverbs 1 to 9, the large middle section of the book of Proverbs in chapter 10, verses 1 and, etc., up to 22:16, the Proverbs of Solomon has no obvious structure. Instead, they're short sayings and they jump quickly between various topics. Proverbs 1 to 9 helps us detect larger themes that run through this part of Proverbs. Recall that Proverbs 1 to 9 contrasts the path of wisdom that leads to life and the path of foolishness that leads to death. Vivid metaphors and stories taught us how to recognize these two ways, those that travel on them, where they ultimately lead. In the rest of Proverbs, we again find the wise and the foolish starkly contrasted. For example, we see that the Lord rewards the wise, but the foolish are punished. The wise receive abundance from God, but the foolish are poor. The wise receive honor, but the foolish receive shame. The wise are diligent, but the foolish are lazy. Keep in mind that Proverbs often presents issues from this side of heaven's perspective, whereas the New Testament complements us with an eternal perspective. This helps us understand that some rewards and vindication won't be seen until we're with the Lord. It's a long game, folks. One of the most important themes running through the section of Proverbs concerns the power of language. Speech reveals what's truly going on in a person's heart. For example, verse 13 says that the wisdom is on the lips of the discerning. In other words, if a person has been seeking knowledge and discernment, then the words he or she utters will reflect this. Conversely, a fool's speech reveals perversity. Fools utter words of destruction, but the words of the wise are precious. In short, the words of the wise bring forth life, and the words of the fool lead to ruin. The impact of speech is powerful. The wise person's words promote well-being and order, but the fool's words sow discord and chaos. Let's hope that as we get built up in these studies, that we become wiser and our words and our actions reflect it. Here's some devotional thoughts for today. The best known words of Ruth from the Bible are most often heard at old style weddings, even though they were spoken by a grieving young widow to her mother in law, Naomi. Ruth said, "Entreat me not to leave thee or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God." And that's in Ruth 1:16. Ruth had no legal or cultural responsibility to Naomi, who also was a widow and had no means of support. No one would have blamed Ruth for staying with her own people in Moab, where the chances of remarriage were greater. Naomi even urged Ruth to stay, but Ruth was determined to go with her to Judah and to follow her God. Ruth's unselfish devotion was considered worthy of praise. Boaz, Ruth's future husband, told her, "It hath fully been shown to me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband. The Lord recompense thy work." Promises spoken at a wedding are full of hope and meaning, but Ruth's words have survived the centuries because of her unwavering commitment to God and a person in need. She points us to the value of loving sacrifice for the Lord and to his rich blessing on all who give themselves unselfishly to others. Seek God first. 2 Chronicles 16:8 says, "Were not the Ethiopians and Libyans a huge host with very many chariots and horsemen? Yet because thou didst rely on the Lord, he delivered them into thy hand." Too often we get caught up in doing our own thing and forgetting God is waiting patiently for us to remember he is there. Not until we get into trouble or decide we can't go it alone will we stop and ask God for help or guidance. King Asa relied on the Lord and God had carried him through, but he perhaps got full of himself and thought he could carry on in life by himself. He made a league with the king of Syria, a fleshly man, instead of depending on God as he had done before. So he was given a reproof by the prophet of God for distrusting God and not relying on his goodness and power. He was left to himself to do whatever he wanted, to abuse whatever power he had, to rot in his own deceitfulness. How many times have we as Christians thought we could go it alone? And during our misgivings came across things that really brought us down. It made us realize that without God, there is nothing. He has the power to deliver and to keep us from our troubles. But if we blatantly refuse to listen to him, then he will let us go our merry way and reap whatever we've sown. King Asa went his own way, and a few years later was diseased to his feet for persecuting the prophet of God, who was only delivering a message to which he should have listened. He paid with his body for not relying on God for what only he can give. We need to watch closely and be careful to be faithful to God in our faith, patience, and obedience. Well, if you haven't clicked the like or subscribe to the channel, we welcome you to do that. We really like that when you share this with a friend. And the more people that we have enjoying it, just delights us. And we will continue to do this. We've almost been going at it for a month now. We'll finish off with a couple of fun facts for today. In the sentence, "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," it uses every letter in the alphabet. And here's one. You've heard the saying, "in a jiffy." Did you know that that's an actual measurement of time? According to the notes I have, it is actually 1/100th of a second. So amaze your friends by saying, I'm going to give you the answer in a jiffy. Here's your closing thought. Let's be prayerful. Lord, please let me add to the church. I want to save a life. And let's go forth and act upon that. You can turn the video off or stick around for the bonus material. Hey, welcome back. Jokes of the day. But first of all, here's a riddle. A man had 12 sheep. All but 9 died. How many sheep did he have left? Think about that for a second. Did you hear about the vampire that was locked up in the asylum? He went bats. Cautioning the witness to remember that she was under oath, the lawyer asked, "How old are you?" 29 and some months, she replied. Really? How many months? 196. Back to the riddle. A man had 12 sheep. All but 9 died. How many sheep did he have left? Simple. 9. He had 9 that didn't die. All right. Thank you, everybody. That's it. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow.